is The Furnace with John Burton.
Hey everybody, this is John, and hey, let's talk prophecy and prophecy in the church. And hey, why won't your pastor let you prophesy? Or why doesn't he affirm your prophetic gifting? We'll talk about all that. And then we'll also kind of address it from the other angle. Pastors, what's up? What is going on? Why is there not truly a prophetic culture in your church? So this is something that we've got to come at from both directions. First of all, let me kick this off by saying I appreciate all the feedback that I get from you all. I really do. I love it. I love reading the comments and emails. I try to get back to them. I don't always. I just need you to know that. It's not because I don't appreciate it. It's just it's the old excuse, and I hate it. That I am really super busy with my businesses and my writing and podcasting and just everything that goes on. But I do want to stay connected with you. Just know that I appreciate you, and it really means a lot to me that you are connecting with me and responding to these podcasts and also to my articles. And if you do want to support this ministry, I pray that God would give you direction in that, and if that's to be, that He'd put that on your heart. We do value that, and you can go to burton.tv/donate, and you can do so there. All right, let's get into this. We're going to talk about prophecy in the church. Those of you that follow my ministry, you know that I'm huge into prophecy. It's big, it's important, it's critical, but also there are so many. There's so many issues and nuances, and there's so much goofiness and difficulties out there regarding the prophetic, and I believe the enemy is going to do all he can to shut the mouths of the prophets. He wants to muzzle us. He really does. There are a lot of people that are muzzled that should not be, and there are a lot of people that are not muzzled that probably should have their mouths shut for a season. But let's just jump into this. The question, and man, people come to me all the time, and I remember when I was leading churches, because we were a prophetic church, and I also think, in the early stages, because we were a young church, young prophetic churches tend to attract the rejected, wounded prophetic crowd, and it's just the way it is. It just happens, and so they get wounded / rejected or whatever in their previous church, and they come with all sorts of baggage and accusations and wounding and all that, and they are hoping for an outlet to minister and to prophesy and to kind of do that stuff. And so I understand that it's not a healthy situation, and that's one reason why it's a vicious cycle. While pastors shut you down, it's because you have not dealt with your woundedness and all that. But let's get into this point by point. What do pastors need? When I was pastoring, the last thing that I needed was for the red flags to start flying when one of these wounded, rejected prophetic people came to my church. I didn't want that. See, I was leading a church. I was leading a movement, a body, a people, whatever you want to label that. I was in a position of very sobering, serious responsibility. And just because you want to prophesy doesn't mean that it's wisdom to allow you to prophesy. It's just not, because I have to protect people, as a pastor. I'm not a pastor anymore, but back in the day. And so there are legit reasons why you may not be allowed to minister or to prophesy. Let's start with the first one. You may not agree with all these. I got several little points here. You may not agree with all of these, but it's reality regardless. And so you need to present yourself in the right way, understanding that this is what pastors are thinking. All right. Number one, do you embrace the vision of the church? Are you one that you are on board, that you feel God has put you there to help advance the church, the direction that God has called the leader to advance it? If not, I would question the need for you to prophesy. If you're just there to hear your own voice, you're just there to quote unquote minister, there's no point. If you are not locked in with the vision, you probably don't even need to be in that church. Why are you there other than God assigning you there? Why are you there? And oh, by the way, let me address something. Those of you who feel that you are called to visit a church and to stay there for a little while in order to help the pastor, which is kind of veiled verbiage for you want to manipulate the pastor and you think you're better than him and you've been around a long time and he's a young guy possibly or he's inexperienced, and so you are there to give you all your wisdom, how wonderful you are. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. That's presumptuous, arrogant nonsense. Don't do it. If the pastor wants your help, he'll let you know. And it's going to be forged through relationship to the point where he can trust you and trust that you are truly there to help advance the mission and not there to share all of your ridiculous wisdom and knowledge that you've gained through the years. And that might seem harsh, but and maybe I shouldn't have said your wisdom and knowledge is ridiculous, but the way that so many handle it is, it's like you think, these people think that they've been there, done that, and now they're going to go in for a season to help the pastor and then leave as if they're on some kind of secretive assignment or undercover assignment or specialized assignment or whatever. And who is there covering? Who's your covering if that's you? Who's sending you out? Who's your accountability? What is the plan? What is all that? Don't ever just show up. And prophetic people are famous for this. I had one. I didn't realize it in the early stages. And boy, he wasn't there to really lock in with the church. He was there to exert his own influence, to share his wealth of wisdom and knowledge, and to steer the church the way that he felt it should go. It's witchcraft. It's control. It's wrong. All right, so that was just kind of a little bit of a side note, but it's related. A lot of prophetic people like to do that. They presume that they have this specialized connection with Jesus, and the pastor doesn't, and so they are going to now steer the ship, and it's wrong. All right, okay, all right, again, let's get into this. What do pastors need? If you truly want to prophesy, you truly want to use this valid ministry of prophecy, how does it work? Well, pastors need humility. Prophecy is critical. We must have prophecy in the church. We absolutely must have prophecy in the church. And pastors who shut it down are out of line. Absolutely, entirely, completely out of line. If you're shutting prophecy down, shutting down the prophetic, shutting down the prophetic expression, you're out of line. You are wrong. Wrong. I don't care what your reasons are. You're wrong. That being said, here's some of the reasons. Pastors need to see your humility. They need to see that you are a humble, meek individual. That you're broken in terms of you've got this brokenness, humility, meekness thing about you. They do not need arrogant, opinionated prophetic people. All right, that's the first one. Next, pastors need order. They need order. The Bible demands it. I had a lady one time when I first started my church. She came up and she said, well, how do you handle it if I have a prophetic word? And I said, well, if it's, my protocol was if it's during worship and, you can come and speak it to me in my ear, or if you want to write it down, that's fine. You can do that. Hand it to me. And she said, well, if it's during the sermon, what am I going to do? Because I would actually need to go ahead and just stand up and interrupt you during the sermon because the Lord's given me that prophetic word for that moment. And I'm like, nope, not going to do that. That's out of order. I don't care how excited you are about your prophetic word. She said, well, then I'll lose it. Well, that's probably good, because if it's God, you're not going to lose it. You can wait and you can share it at the appropriate time. If you lose it, then it's probably more your own input and ideas. And so we need order. It needs to be done the right way. And different pastors do it differently. Follow their instructions. Pastors need order. Don't be one of these people that just kind of does your own thing. I'll never forget when I was pastoring. I love the dance. I love prophetic dance. I love flags. I love all of that. I'm huge into that. But there's protocols. And the church that we were in, The building that we were in was kind of limited in the front, and so there was some certain guidelines. And I said, hey, flaggers, there was so much room in the back. There was a lot of room in the back, not a lot of room in the front. I said, flaggers, man, minister to the Lord back there. Dancers, minister to the Lord back there. It's not that we can't ever be at the altar. I'm not saying that, but I'll give some leadership into that. Sometimes I'll invite the flaggers and the dancers up front, and they'll break something open, and I value that. But otherwise, you stay on the sides, kind of stay in the back, and just go for it. And there's this one particular lady, and she knew it, and I had corrected her a number of times. And one particular Sunday, there she goes, and she's doing this dance thing, and she's doing laps around the building. And when she got to the front of the altar, dance, and she'll do another lap and come back around and dance. And then, so I went to the back of the building, and she was coming around, she was doing her lap, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? And she was in this strange little, invented little trance, like, oh, I'm in the spirit kind of a thing, and she was not in the spirit. And I'm like, I told you not to do that. That is not allowed. You are not allowed to do that. I made it very clear, and you are completely out of order right now, and I'm not going to allow that. And I think it was the last time she ever came to the church. I think she left, which was great for me. I didn't have to force her out. I just made it clear that I expected her in an atmosphere of freedom. You realize freedom doesn't equal anarchy. Some of you think it does. Pastors that don't let you do anything that you want, you think they're controlling. They're not controlling. Get over yourself. Freedom is not anarchy. We need to have order. All right? So the next thing pastors need to see if they're going to let someone prophesy. Maturity. Remember, pastors are watching out for the flock. They can't just let anyone prophesy. They need to see maturity. I'm not saying perfection. They need to see maturity. Are you stable? Are you mature? Are you grounded? Do you handle yourself well? Are you well respected? All of that kind of stuff. Are you mature? Okay, next. You need to be able to take correction. You get all bent out of shape and boo-hoo when you get corrected, or when a prophetic word isn't received, or you have to, or if that's the case, you shouldn't be prophesying. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be ministering at all if you don't know how to take correction. If the pastor says no, pastor needs to be allowed to say no. So if you have a prophetic word, you want to share it, pastor's like, nope, I don't feel it. It's not today. This isn't the right moment. Pastors need to be able to say no. Next, it's going through my bullet points here. What pastors need from people who want to prophesy in the church. They need some precision. They need to see a track record of prophecies that are actually true, that they actually come to pass, or they're legitimately biblical, that they're legitimately God. Or is it just you spiritualizing your own ideas? Boy, I've heard enough of that. I heard a lot of that. By the way, I counsel people against saying kind of "Thus saith the Lord" or "God said." I'd have the fear of the Lord on me about that. I'm not saying it can't ever happen. I'm not saying that. And the more mature you are, a little more licensed to do that. But boy, oh boy, be careful. Because you start putting words in God's mouth and you're wrong, that's serious. So precision is important. A track record is important. Next, here's a big one. All right, wherever you're at right now, repeat after me. Big. Pastors, if they're going to let people prophesy. Oh, by the way, some of you don't even like the way I say that. Who's a pastor to let me? He's the boss. He's the leader. He's the authority. He's in charge. Get over yourself. He's in charge. You're not. He outranks you. Deal with it. It's the way it is. He's the boss and you are not. You got to get over yourself. All right. So this is a big one. Pastors, if they're going to let you prophesy, want no manipulation in the prophetic word. None. Man, the level of charismatic witchcraft that is alive today in the church through quote-unquote prophetic people is staggering, mind-boggling. People use the prophetic to manipulate. There will be prophetic people that they will prophesy in such a way that it's an accusation against the church that they're not spiritual enough, or that they're not going in the right direction, or that God is calling them to do something else, or on and on and on and on. And for me, the moment, I pick up on witchcraft very, very, very easily. It's just one of those things that it's super easy for me to pick up on. If there's manipulation in the prophecy, it's the last time that person's going to ever prophesy, or at least until they go through some serious training and correction and all of that. And so no manipulation. If your thought in prophecy is that God is giving you something to move the church in a direction contrary to what the pastor thinks, you're wrong. Don't do it publicly. Go to him privately. Say, this is what I feel the Lord's saying. And then let him disagree with you, and you're okay with it. Okay? Next thing the pastor needs. They don't need prophetic people that are dominant. And what I mean by that, just they run over everybody with their prophetic whatever, their prophetic ministry, their prophetic gift, their prophetic accolades, and then in their prophetic delivery. They don't want you to dominate. They don't want you to run over people. They don't want that. They want it to be done rightly. Okay. Oh, here's another one. No gossip. You realize gossip is very closely related to prophecy. Gossip is witchcraft. Absolutely. Gossip is rebellion. And when I say related to prophecy, related to unrighteous prophecy. And so gossip, the purpose of gossip is to manipulate. That's the purpose of it. I don't know if there is any other purpose. It's to manipulate. It's to coerce people to join you on your team and to leave somebody else's team. It's to point a finger of accusation. It's to elevate self. It's to ridicule another. It's all of that. And so it's gossip absolutely is manipulation. So regarding prophecy, and I've seen it happen to where there's gossip behind the scenes when leadership didn't respond to a prophetic word the way that they think they should have. And now they're talking about it behind the scenes. You're gossiping, you're not going to prophesy, not in my church, all right? And guess what? Pastors need people who don't, quote unquote, need to prophesy for their own identity, for their own self-worth. They don't need that. If you need to prophesy in order to, for the sake of your own identity, then you don't need to prophesy. Needy people. We do not need needy people prophesying. Okay? People that, again, they have to prophesy in order to be validated. We don't need that. It's self-focused. It's self-centered. It's not body-centered. It's not God-centered. It's not mission-centered. And so, if you need to prophesy for your own self-worth, you shouldn't prophesy. All right? There's other things that I can talk about, related to that. If you demand that people respect your prophetic gifting, you don't need to be prophesying. If any of that's going on. So these are reasons why pastors don't let you prophesy. And I'm doing this for your own good because, again, prophecy is critical. We need it. So just looking down the list here, here's how you do it. Be humble, prophesy in order, be mature or endeavor unto maturity, and take correction, let the pastor say no, develop precision and a good track record. It takes years, by the way. Never manipulate, do not attempt to dominate, don't gossip, and don't be needy. Okay? If you handle all that well, you'll be allowed to prophesy. And by the way, this is kind of related. Don't be the one. Don't be that one. So I think maybe even under trying to dominate, this would probably fit. Don't be that one that is the one that's always prophesying. I mean, I go to some churches and I know Mother Martha Sister Martha, whatever you want to call her. I don't know what I called her. I'm thinking like a mother of the church. Sister Martha. She's always got to prophesy on a Sunday morning. It's always her. Always her. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. Be involved in a prophetic culture where you're not the only one. You're not the main voice. Okay? Pastors don't need that. You know, just think of it from the pastor's perspective on the platform. And they're up there smiling and keeping everybody happy, and all of a sudden, there goes sister or brother so-and-so. Thus saith the Lord. And the pastor's up there like, oh, Jesus, save me from this person. Jesus, please save me from this person. Oh, and I'm telling you, that happens. And you know the reality is about 90% of the people in the building are saying the same thing. Why doesn't the pastor do anything? Oh, stop this person from prophesying in every single Sunday. Stop them. And you think you're coming off sounding all spiritual. I don't. Let's talk real. People are like, oh, please deliver me from the madness. So don't be that person. All right. So that's what all of the, that's a bunch of what the pastors need. I'm sure there's more. But hey, pastors, what do the people need? The people need to be equipped. Churches, in fact, somebody asked me this the other day, how do we do this, Well, I believe every church needs to have a prophetic track. I believe it. Where everybody is being trained in the prophetic. See, people want that, pastors. They want to be equipped. A lot of them don't even know what the protocols are. They have no idea. They don't know what to do, what not to do. All they know to do is what they did at the last church. And so pastors, you got to equip your people. And I'm not talking about, a 3-week Sunday school series. I'm talking about a nonstop culture of equipping in the prophetic. And not only, that equipping includes classes, it includes prayer time together, includes modeling it on a Sunday morning, includes a lot of stuff. So people want to be equipped, pastors. You need to do that. Pastors, people need an outlet. Give them an outlet. There's a lot of outlets that don't demand that they take the microphone to prophesy on a Sunday morning, or that they don't belt out spontaneously in the middle of a service or what. I'm not saying there's never a time for that, but I'm saying it's not always necessary. There's other outlets. I would have art stations set up, and prophetic art would happen. That's an outlet. I'd have whiteboards set up, so instead of people having to go up to the platform or whatever or interrupt the service, they would write down their prophetic word on whiteboards, and other people could look at it and they could see it. They would write down scriptures, or sometimes they'd even draw a picture representing what they're seeing in the spirit, and powerful, powerful way to do that. Small groups, there needs to be an outlet in small groups for them to prophesy, on and on. Pastor, you've got to give people an outlet to prophesy, because all of us are supposed to prophesy, every person, okay? Pastors, people need feedback. So when they are prophesying, or when they're in that mix, give them feedback. Not every time, but offer that feedback. This is what I heard you saying. Is that what you said? Kind of a thing. Let them know. It's like, man, I really believe that was the Lord. I felt, a confirmation in my spirit. Or say, hey, you know what? I kind of get the gist of what you're saying, but for future, let me kind of give you some coaching. It didn't come across the way that I think you meant it to come across, and here's how you could have said it better. That kind of stuff. Feedback, all right? Pastors, people don't want, and I'm going to explain this, people don't want favoritism now. Some of you are cheering right now. It's like, yes, the pastor always favors this other guy. Okay, now listen. Pastors need to favor some over others because of all of the reasons we've talked about. Because some are more mature, some are more ready, some are more proven, they have a track record, some are more humble, on and on. So they must favor some over others. But everything being equal, pastors, People don't want you to favor your best friend over somebody else, okay? People, it's not right to favor this guy over this guy, all things being equal. So keep that in mind. Let's see, pastors. People want a response. They are hoping that as they prophesy, that the pastor doesn't just take the reins again and lead in the same direction he was leading in. Now understand, going back to the beginning of all of this, manipulation is not cool, and I think a lot of pastors are so gun shy regarding manipulation that they're not gonna easily respond. But people want that, so they want to deliver a prophetic word that they really feel is the Lord, and they really want to see the pastor in that moment just rocked by that word and do something. It's like, people, everybody, I feel like this is God. Let's take a moment and really pray on this. Let's really consider this, or whatever. So they want to see some sort of a response. They don't want it just to be this this offshoot tangent interruption that maybe one or two people appreciated. They want it to impact the body. Okay. Pastors, people want encouragement. Again, goes back to the response or feedback. They want encouragement. They want you. They want to hear. They want to hear that. Super important. And people want validation, good or bad. They want validation, and they don't want to always be the one on the outskirts. And prophetic people are usually on the outskirts. They want validation. They want you to speak into their lives and say, this is a valid gift that this individual has, understanding that they're handling their lives rightly. They're handling the prophetic ministry rightly. So pastors, people need you to validate them, okay? And so there's other things people are looking for as well. We can go back up here. People, or pastors, guess what? People want humility in you. They want maturity in you. They want you to be able to not necessarily take correction from them, but be correctable, teachable, to where you can admit that maybe you were off base and now God's correcting you and now you're moving in another direction. And they want you to be to have a track record. They don't want you to manipulate. And a lot of pastors do that from behind the platform, which is insanity. They don't want you gossiping about them. They don't want you to need to be the leader. Right? So we can flip this the other way too. But if we don't do this right, we have a toxic church environment, and which is what we have in most churches today. Certain levels of toxicity, some churches worse than others. And so we need to learn how to handle a prophetic culture the right way and stop quenching the spirit, stop despising prophecies, and people quit being rejected all the time, and let's deal with all of these issues. But we need to see a resolution come to the church in the area of the prophetic. I don't believe Sundays or any meeting should ever go by without prophetic influence. I don't believe that should ever happen, because God is always moving, and He's always speaking, and He's always interacting, and He's always directing, He's always orchestrating, He's always doing these things. And we need to be able to communicate that in the moment. And it's not always the pastor that does it, but we also need seasoned prophetic messengers to do that. All right? And by the way, pastors, if you don't receive your people, guess what you have created? You have created the embarrassment that is the Facebook prophet. That's what you've done. So now all these people that have been rejected by you, not equipped, not responded to rightly, and they, in their immaturity and in their manipulation, in their gossip, they in their lack of a track record and all of that, now they've taken all of that dysfunction to Facebook, and we have the phenomenon that is the Facebook prophet. Thanks, pastors. Great job. Talk to you all next time.
Thank you for listening to The Furnace with John Burton. You can access media, read articles, and partner with the ministry online at burton.tv. And by all means, share this podcast with those who are hungry for revival, reformation, and revolution.